Good morning, students. Welcome to the biology class. In today's class also we continue the same topic, the plant kingdom. In today's class we are going to study about the pteridophytes. Let us start the general characters of pteridophytes. General characters of pteridophytes. So pteridophytes includes horsetails and ferns. Like bryophytes includes the liverworts and mosses. In the same manner, pteridophytes includes the horsetails and the ferns. Includes horsetails and ferns. So pteridophytes are used as medicinal plants, as a soil blenders, and also ornamental plants in the garden. They used for medicinal purpose, as a soil binders, and also ornamentals in garden. So the pteridophytes requires cool, damp, shady places. They found in cool, damp, shady area, and they also flourish well in sandy soil. They also flourish means grow, flourish well in sandy soil also. Sandy soil. So evolutionarily, pteridophytes are the first terrestrial plants with vascular tissues. So these are the first plants, terrestrial plants. First terrestrial plants with vascular tissues like xylem and phloem. So these are the transportive tissue which transports water and minerals and also food within the plant. So that's why they are called the vascular tissues. So in bryophytes we didn't find vascular tissues. So that's why they are called the avascular plants. But these are vascular plants with xylem and phloem. And they are the first terrestrial plants with vascular tissues. So that's why we call the vascular plants or tracheophytes like that. Next, the main plant body of pteridophyte is sporophyte. The main plant body is sporophyte with well developed or true root, stem and leaves. So the main plant body or dominant phase of the pteridophyte life cycle is sporophyte, and this sporophyte bears well developed or true root, stem and leaves. So we can differentiate pteridophytes with the bryophytes by this character also, because in bryophytes we have seen the main plant body was gametophyte and there were no true root, stem and leaves. There were root like, stem like, leaves like structures were there. But in case of pteridophytes we see all the well developed organs, and these well developed root, stem and leaves have the well differentiated vascular tissues. Next, the sporophyte bears sporangia. The sporophyte bears the sporangia and they are subtended with the leaf-like appendages called the sporophylls. And these sporangia are subtended with leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. Leaf-like appendages called the sporophylls. These sporophylls may be in some plants arranged compactly and form the strobili or cones as in Selaginella and Equisetum. The sporophylls arranged compactly. And forms the cone or strobili. Suppose if this is a spore, leaf-like structure or sporophyll, on the lower side they possess the sporangia. They may be free or pyramidally compound form, or they may arrange on a cone-like structure. These leaf-like structure arrange around a cone-like structure and they form the cone-like structure. So such structure is called the cone or strobili. So next character, they possess, the pteridophytes may produce two types of spores. They may produce homosporous or they may be heterosporous. So they may homosporous or heterosporous. Homosporous means they produce similar kinds of spores. If all the spores are similar types, such spore producing plants are called homosporous. But some plants may be heterosporous, means they produce different kinds of or different morphologically different sized spores, and such plants are called the heterosporous. Example, Selaginella, Salvinia and Azolla. They are the heterosporous because they produce different sized spores. Homosporous, most of the ferns are homosporous. Dryopteris, so Nephrolepis, they all are homosporous. So next is, when these spores germinate, they produce gametophyte. When the spore germinate, they produce the thalloid gametophyte. Thalloid gametophyte, which is called the prothallus. So this prothallus or thalloid gametophyte is small, green, inconspicuous, free-living, photosynthetic. Photosynthetic. So this is in pteridophytes, we should notice that the sporophyte is well differentiated with true roots, leaves and stem. But another phase of pteridophyte, that is gametophyte, which is in thalloid form, where we are not see the well differentiated root, stem and leaves. So the gametophyte is thalloid nature, And gametophyte of pteridophyte is free living, which is green in color, and it is free living and photosynthetic. It is not depending on the sporophyte for its food or for the nourishment. And this prothallus usually grow in the cool, damp, shady area. Because of this requirement and also need of water for fertilization, the pteridophytes are limited and they are restricted to very narrow geographical area. So that's why we are not usually see the pteridophytes widespread on all the parts. So they are restricted to only one particular place or geographical area because of their peculiar needs. For the development of prothallus, they need the cool, damp, shady place, and also they require water for the fertilization. So that's why they are restricted to particular geographical area. So the next is, so this prothallus produce sex organs. Both male and female sex organ present on the prothallus or on the gametophyte. Male sex organ is called antheridium. Female sex organ archegonium is called the archegonium. So antheridium produces the male gametes, which we call the anthrozoids, and archegonium produces single egg, called the female gamete. When these two, male and female gametes fuse, the fusion takes place by the help of water. Anthrozoids flow or swim in the water and they reach the single egg. And the fertilization takes place within the archegonium and zygote formation confirms. And this zygote thereafter develops into young embryo within the archegonium. And this property is said to be a precursor of seed habit, and it is the important step in the evolution. So development of zygote within the archegonium is precursor of seed habit, and it is evolutionary important step in the evolutionary point of view. So this is about the characters of pteridophytes. And pteridophytes are classified into 4 classes based on type of leaves and the location of sporangia on their plants. Let us see the 4 classes of the pteridophytes. First one is Psilopsida. Example for this Psilotum. And second one is Lycopsida. Example for this is Lycophodium, Selaginella. Isoltis, etc. And third group is Spinopsida. Example for this group, Equisitum. The fourth group is Pteropsida. Example for this group, Pteris neprolepis ediantum. So these are the four classes of pteridophytes with the examples. Now we will understand the whole general characters of pteridophytes and their life cycle with the help of a neat diagram or life cycle diagram. Let us draw the diagrams of different stages of life cycle of pteridophyte. First of all, we will start with the sporophyte of the fern. Structure of sporophyte structure. Sporophyte structure. So the rhizome, underground stem. On the basal region of rhizome, the roots are arised. These are called the adventitious roots. On the upper side of this, there are scaly structures, and these scaly structures are called the ruminanta. The young leaves and fronds arise from the upper side of the soil. Axis of the leaves. On either side of these axis, pinnately compound leaves are produced. The leaves are larger when compared to the selaginella in fern. These are called the frond. They are green in color and photosynthetic. So the young leaves which are coiled in form, they are called the circinate formation. And these are called the pinnately compound fronds or leaves. So when we observe a single leaf, so lower side of this leaf, on the lower side, this is the upper surface, on the lower surface of the leaf, on the marginal region or towards the margin, there are some dark brown structures are there. These are called the sori. They are called the sori, single sorus. Within the sori, sporangia are present. Within the sori. Let us draw the structure of sori. structure of sorus. So there is a bulge portion. This is the upper surface of the sorus leaf. So these are the multicellular stalk. So these stalk of the sporangia are attached on this bulged structure, which are thick wall. So these bulb-like and large structures are called the sporangia. These are the sporangia. So when we observe the in detail structure of sporangia, so these are the multicellular thick walled stalk of the sporangia, single sporangia. The sporangia is made by one side very thick non-dehiscent cells, which we call the annulus. This portion which is not dehiscent, this is called the annulus. On the other side, there are some thin walled cells are there, and which are meant for dehiscence. This is called the stromium. Inside this sporangia, there are spore mother cells. These are called the spore mother cells. So these spore mother cell undergo meiosis and produce the spores. Let us draw diagram of a single spore. This single spore which has nucleus, and this is a diploid. And meiosis takes place. Meiosis takes place in the spore mother cell. This is the spore mother cell. It produces 4 haploid spores. Haploid spores. Initially they are attached, later they separate. When these spores germinate, they produce the gametophyte. They produce the gametophyte. The gametophyte is heart-shaped structure. The gametophyte will be heart-shaped structure. And there is a notch. This is called the apical notch. And on the lower surface, there are rhizoids. In between the rhizoids, male sex organs are present. So these male sex organs we call the antheridium or antheridia are present towards the lower surface, and towards the upper side female sex organs are present. So these are called the archegonia. Archegonia is present towards the upper side, and male sex organ antheridia present towards the antheridia. And these antheridia produce anthrozoids. The anthrozoids are somewhat like coiled structures. And they possess some ciliary structures on their surface. And by the help of these, they swim in the water and reach the mouth of the archegonia. Archegonia will be somewhat like this. funnel shape or flask shape. Here egg will be there, and these anthrozoids reach the archegonial mouth and fuse with the female gamete egg. This is the egg, and that results the zygote formation. The zygote is diploid, undergo repeated mitotic division and forms the young sporophyte. Develops into the first young sporophyte. The young sporophyte is produced. This young sporophyte later develops into the mature sporophyte. So this is the life cycle of a pteridophyte plant by taking the example 4. The main plant body is sporophyte, which is well differentiated as root, stem and leaves with vascular tissues. Sporophyte bears the sporangia, which are subtended with the leaf-like structure called the sporophylls. These are called the sporophylls. On the lower surface of the leaves, the brown or reddish brown color structures are there. They are called the sori. Within the sori, sporangia are present. This is the structure of a single sporangium. The sporangia has spore mother cells. Spore mother cell, when undergo meiotic division, it produces 4 haploid spores. These haploid spores, when germinate, they produce the gametophyte. The gametophyte we call as a prothallus, which is thalloid gametophyte, which usually grow in the damp, cool, shady places. And on the same prothallus, we see the male gametophytes and female gametophyte, antherdia or archegonia we call them. And male gamete anthrozoid reach the egg present in the archegonia, and the fertilization occurs, and that results the zygote. And zygote develops a first young sporophyte and then young sporophyte into the mature sporophyte. So here I am going to conclude the explanation of pteridophyte. We will continue the next plants, gymnosperms, in the next class. Thank you.